This book for me was the finance book that I really wish existed or I would have read as I was getting started on my finance journey, and that's the exact same approach I took to this video. Is what is the video on YouTube I wish I would have seen before I got started with my first book. What's up guys, my name is Frankie and this is The Money Resolution, the YouTube channel where we talk all things personal finance in a way that is hopefully super easy to understand and very actionable. The Money Resolution is also the name of my self-published book that I'm holding here now, and this book still generates me passive income every single day, and this was published almost exactly 1 year ago. And the reason I'm putting this video together today is to help you self-publish your first book in half the amount of time that I did. So I'm gonna give you all my best tips and strategies, all the things I would do over, resources, walk you through my dashboard, all of that. And I figured now might be a really good time to do that because at the time of recording this, a lot of us are self-quarantining and stuck inside for the foreseeable future. So if you're looking for a great project for the next 30 days, maybe self-publishing is the way to go. Good day for it too. In Seattle, it is extremely cloudy and rainy. So yeah, kick us while we're down, nature. I'm going to provide a very realistic view of what self-publishing could look like for the first time writer, author still sounds weird to say. I wrote my very first book from scratch with zero knowledge on this topic in terms of how to do it in exactly 2 months. So from idea and first word to publishing and holding this book in my hand, it was 2 months. And I'm here today to help you learn how to do this in half that time. I'm gonna walk you through the process of uploading your book and getting it approved, how to optimize your descriptions, explain how the royalties work. I'm gonna share resources I'm using for my second book, and you're gonna wanna stick around until the very end of this video. I am going to do a very transparent look at exactly how much money I made and exactly how much money the book cost me to produce. Here's just a little sneak peek at the result there.
I'm pulling together the numbers for the first time, and it's not positive.
I just recently did my taxes, and so I had to pull together all the expenses for my book and exactly how much revenue I generated for my book. And at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal all of the numbers with full transparency. So a little bit of structure for this video, and I'll put some timestamps in the description below. First, I'm gonna cover the pros and cons of self-publishing on Amazon or Kindle Direct Publishing. Then I'm gonna talk about the types of books that I recommend you make, especially if this is your first book and you are really trying to do this in under 30 days. Then again, I'll give you all the resources, literally how to put the book together, what resources I used before, what I'm using now. Then I'll walk you exactly through the process. So what are the guidelines, who can do it, hint, anybody, yes, even you, how to upload, set it up within the platform, how to get your book ranked. And finally, like I mentioned a moment ago, I'm gonna reveal with full transparency exactly how much I made or possibly lost with my first book, self-publishing on Amazon. Before all of that, if you're interested in saving money, making money, in this case, passive income, getting out of debt, and investing, this is the place for you. Be sure to subscribe to The Money Resolution. I put out videos roughly once a week on all things personal finance. Plus, as usual, I'll put all the links to the resources mentioned in this video in that description below. Okay, so let's talk pros and cons, and let's start with the pros. And the number one pro here is that anybody can do this, literally anybody. It is super straightforward. We all have access to the same tools. The next pro is, what's really cool about this is I was only aiming to put out an ebook and actually found out at no cost or anything like that, I can turn my ebook, my book idea, into a physical paperback. Because Amazon bought or owns, I don't know, CreateSpace, you can now do print on demand. The other pro, of course, is that it's totally free to do this and publish your book through Amazon, but Amazon is, of course, gonna take a royalty for making that book available to others and printing it for you. The next pro here is whether or not your book is a hit, and I'm gonna be honest, a lot of times your first one isn't going to be. No matter how successful that book is, it hopefully helps you establish credibility with your name as an author or your name as a brand. And a little side pro here is you actually don't even need to publish it under your own name if you don't want to. You can use a pen name. The first con here is you honestly probably aren't likely to make a ton of money, especially with your first book. But the more that you do this and the more that you learn, you know, what's the proper niche, where you should be, what's more profitable, how to use the tips to really scale this, eventually you could make a decent chunk of change. The next con here is it can be expensive. Now, it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to talk about what each part of the book production process cost me, But the reality is you could do this at no to low cost. And for your first book, that's one regret I have that I'll just say now is spending too much money to make this thing close to perfect, at least in my eyes. And the final con here, as you know, Amazon was originally a bookstore, and by now there are probably millions and millions of books on the Amazon store. While it is extremely easy to get your book to market, even within 30 days, as I'm going to explain, it can be hard to get your book to rank amongst the clutter. It's gonna take some grassroots marketing efforts, perhaps some social channels, some book launch stuff. You might need to learn advertising, for example, through Amazon, which I will also talk about later in this video. But if you're willing to put in the work, it can be super, super worth it. And the flip side of that actually is it's not that hard to get your book ranked in the top 100 within your category, as you can see on screen here. And I have to say, of all the moments of putting the book together and putting it out there, that was probably the most satisfying feeling, was seeing your book crack the top 100. Whatever you're thinking about writing, make sure you do a little bit of research, see what's already out there, and see what's missing from the category that you're thinking of jumping into. And I would recommend also that you be a little bit more specific than I was. I just talked about all things personal finance, but be specific within your niche and your category. What problem does your book solve for the reader? And by now you probably figured out I wrote nonfiction, and this video is a little bit more tailored towards those of you thinking about nonfiction or other, but I'll come back to that in a moment. But I still think that most of this does apply to fiction and nonfiction writers alike. Okay, I've already sort of started doing this. That was the pros and cons. Let's talk about what type of book you should consider making for your first one on Amazon. And don't worry, even if you still at this point have no idea what type of book to put out there or think you're not an author, I think this next section is really gonna help you. The truth is you can write about anything. And even if you don't have an idea in mind or a manuscript ready to go, you can actually put out what's called a no content or a low content book. This is a really great place to start for your first book because it's not gonna require a ton of effort. You can get this book to market pretty quickly and you're gonna learn a ton in the process and probably make more money than I did. So an example of a low content book would be a journal with prompts. So let's say you put out 100 pages and most of every single page is just space for the writer to write. But as the reader reads your prompts on each page, typically around a very specific topic, or it can just be reflective, meditative, whatever you want to do there. All you need is one question at the top of each page and then a ton of blank lines. Simple as that. That's 100 sentences to write your first book. And if you're not into the journal idea, you can create drawing prompts, a daily planner, or even a coloring book. For a no content book, what does that look like? Well, this could be a guest log book, so for a wedding or an event, for example. This can be blank sheet music, so I've seen a lot of these on the market. Again, though, how are we gonna make yours stand out from the others? This could be a dot journal. Those are very popular right now. And as I found doing a little bit of research, you can even buy a book on Amazon about how to create a low and no content book. This is getting extremely meta. I've even seen some websites out there with some downloads that walk you through exactly how to put out your book from start to finish in one day, which is just kind of crazy. I don't even honestly know if that's possible, but maybe check that out as well. So again, with Amazon's print on demand service, you can turn any book idea, no content, low content, or a full manuscript if you'd like, into a physical book that customers can order with no hassle, no extra cost to you. However, I would recommend that you understand how the royalties work. So one thing, for example, that I learned after putting out my book is that the more photos or images that you include in your book, the less royalties you'll get because of extra printing fees. To maximize your revenue in this particular case, one thing I'd recommend you do is to avoid pictures. No matter what, with your very first book, especially if you're trying to do this in under 30 days, remember this: perfect is the enemy of good. I spent way too much time, in my opinion, trying to perfect the book. And the reality is it'll never be extremely perfect. I think I went through 20 different revisions, even when I thought the book was done. I am still tempted to go back and change things now, but I am absolutely not going to. I need to put that project aside and move on to the next one. Okay, so hopefully you've got some ideas already sort of circulating around your brain of what type of book you want to put out and you're excited about this idea. Now let's talk about actually creating the book itself. So I'm going to talk about some of the resources I used in my first book and resources I'm using now on my second book. In terms of organizing your book, what I used to actually write the book the first time was just simply old Google Docs. So this is really nice, especially if you're working with an editor or another writer, because all the edits made in Google Docs are real time. Plus you can drop some notes, things like that. So with my editor, she was putting in questions, comments, and notes, and I'd go through and review, 20 to 30 comments that she had a day to resolve those. This time around though, I discovered Scrivener, which isn't free like Google Docs is. It used to be a lot more, so this isn't too bad. The one sort of drawback with Scrivener is that if you want to work on your book on the go, so on a mobile device, you have to actually buy the app a second time for that mobile device. So I think that's kind of silly, but hopefully in the future that price comes down or it's just all one bundle. Scrivener though is extremely powerful. For example, at the very end, there's lots of different ways that I can just go ahead and export this doc based on, which size, etc. So I don't have to stress too much about formatting. And I did spend some money, maybe up to $50 on formatting and paying others to do that the first time. So I'm really happy that with that investment, it's basically going to pay for itself when it comes to formatting the book. In general though, this is just really, really easy to use, really easy to mark the different sections, take notes on the side, leave my links, my outlines, and then just navigate around on the far left. I would definitely recommend it to anyone writing their first book, especially if you're not doing a low or no content book. A website I recommend that I've used actually to work on both of my books is called Kindlepreneur.com. So this website's run by Dave Chesson. Great website, awesome content. He's got a YouTube channel as well. One thing I learned from him, for example, was how to leverage HTML code, which Amazon does accept. So you can use bold and italics to make your description really pop and stand out amongst others and just look really nice and professional. Let's talk about that process, at least what it looked like for me. I did set a money resolution to learn all things money from scratch in 1 year. And as I learned and progressed and made progress throughout the year, I documented this whole year in just a simple notes app on my iPhone. Come December of that year, I just sort of started writing. I didn't know if it'd be a blog post or what. Then I did a little bit of research and found Kindle Direct Publishing and realized, hey, I might be able to just put this into an ebook. It's literally hailing right now. So after I got to about 50, 60 pages of writing, this was about 3 weeks later, and I had a really strong outline for the rest of the book, I realized I needed an editor. So I actually put together an ad on Craigslist. Craigslist ads, I learned, cost $7, and this ad was live for I think 30 days. I got close to 30 responses. I picked one amongst the clutter of responses that I got, both good and bad. There was different price ranges, everything else people were offering, but I think we settled on something like $20 an hour. This ended up being my biggest expense and probably the best money I spent. So if you're not doing a low or no content book and you're doing something in fiction or nonfiction, I highly recommend you have a strong editor. Even if it's just a friend or family member that's great with writing and grammar. We worked extremely closely together for probably a solid month, I'd say. But again, all digitally, you could hire an editor from anywhere if you use something like Google Docs. Then I took to Facebook and I asked my friends if anybody had the skills to design a book cover for me and that I was willing to pay. A friend recommended a friend, so I connected with her, and $50 later, I had a book cover, both front and back, and we used Zoom and screen share to sort of work through different designs and ideas. It's kind of cool that it's loud and this is happening now. I'm just gonna keep going. Once the book was done, I had the book cover designed. I took to Fiverr to find a formatter. I actually hired 3 total. I think I spent about $50 as well on formatting, and I'm really glad I did, and I recommend that if you're going to Fiverr for resources and help, because you kind of get what you pay for on Fiverr. It can be anywhere from $5 to $25 to $50, $100 to find a book formatter. I recommend paying a little bit more than rock bottom if you want it done well and professionally. The guy I ended up choosing had self-published his own book, so a little bit of proof of concept there. I'm getting a text, perfect time to film. This is nuts. Okay, anyway, Fiverr, go to Fiverr for book formatting. Try not to pay more than $50, but I would hire more than one person, unless of course you have Scrivener, you can do the formatting on your own. Let's go ahead and jump into my screen and I'll walk you through exactly how you can upload your book once it's done and a few tips along the way. This is the Kindle Direct Publishing dashboard that you'll see when you're uploading your book for the first time. Here's where you will upload if it's just an ebook, and if you want to turn it into a paperback, this is where you'll click after you go through the process with the Kindle. One thing I want to point out here is it mentions you can get a free ISBN to publish your book. If you want to sell your book elsewhere, you are going to have to go ahead and pay for your own ISBN. Down below, you'll see my books here. So I have just the one with the Kindle version on top, the paperback version on bottom. you see the pricing, and if I hover, you can actually see that it's available in multiple countries. Here are those ASIN numbers down below. Instead of showing you from scratch, I'm just going to show you mine, which is completed and filled out. I thought that would be more useful. There are 3 main tabs in the KDP upload portal here. We have the paperback details, the content, and then the rights and pricing. One thing I want to point out, your original language, your book title, and your subtitle, this cannot be changed after you publish your book. So make sure that you're absolutely sure about your title and your subtitle. Series info, you can leave blank. This is where you would potentially put in your pen name or other contributing authors. The description looks a little bit funky, and this is one of those pro tips that I learned on Kindlepreneur. It allows me to stylistically modify my description to make it, again, look more polished and professional. So here is what that looks like in my description on Amazon: italics, as well as bold font and bullets. And make sure you put a lot of thought into your description. As you can see, mine isn't just a paragraph or 2. You actually can expand and see all of this information. You will choose 7 keywords, and this part is extra critical that you make sure you fill out every single box here. Here with categories, I think it only allows you to be in 2 different categories, but one hack I'm going to tell you here is that if you call Amazon, you can actually be in up to 10 categories. So I found, I think, 7 or 8 additional categories. I wrote them down in a notebook, I called them, and literally within 5 minutes, I got someone on the phone, explained to them what I was trying to do, no questions asked. My book showed up in some of the smaller categories. What was cool about that is that's one great way to get your book ranked, is to be in lots of different categories. Personal finance, money management is a really popular category. It's harder to crack the top 100. And so here you can see other categories that I'm in. I'm actually in the top 100 in this very specific one, and almost in the top 100 in wealth management. So on the paperback content page, again, this is where it mentions the free KDP ISBN if you keep it exclusive, or you can of course use your own. It's going to automatically assign your publication date. You leave this blank the first time that you're uploading. Here is where you can have some fun, sort of stylistically with what the paperback looks like. So you have different options, and you cannot change once you publish. So I chose sort of standards here, which is black and white interior with cream paper, 5 by 8 inches. This is a pretty standard book size. And then for finish, this was actually the hardest decision I found of all, which is matte or glossy. I went with matte, which you can see fingerprints on it a lot more, especially with a dark book, but I still am happy with that decision. From there, you're going to upload the manuscript, and you can see this was actually version 21. So 21 different times I uploaded, proofed it, found either a typo or some sort of formatting issue, and I had to go back to my formatter on Fiverr. Here's where you'll upload your book cover. I highly recommend you have your own book cover. I think there's a template you can download and sort of overlay it within Photoshop so that you can make sure, for example, you leave the right amount of space, white space here for the barcode. And you can see I can approve and then go through the entire book here. So the next step, we're almost done here. This is just the pricing and then also the available locations of your book. I did go ahead and choose worldwide for my book. It didn't help me that much, but you might as well. It's a really easy option. It just takes a little bit of extra time to price it in different currencies. So I listed my book at $9.99. My book is roughly, 125 pages. That just felt right, sort of looking at other books in my category. Now, the rate you can see would have been 60% here. However, because they're printing it for me and I did include some images, they're gonna take out $2.48 per book that sells. And so I'm gonna make $3.50 for every $10 book that sells. If I click on other marketplaces, you can see how I had to go through and manually sort of adjust the pricing in different countries. Here it says it can take up to 72 hours for your book to be available. So that's it. Ebook is a little bit different. The pricing structure is a little bit different, which I don't remember, so I'll put on screen right now. And there's a ton more I could show you that could take up its own video, but I'll just very briefly show you. This is my sales dashboard, and you can see the book launch, just about 100 books sold, total units sold between the ebook and paperback in the first month, which was actually mid-February, so this is just a couple of weeks. And then I had a nice sort of organic pop here, mainly for ebooks, January 1, because it does have the word resolution in the title, so that's sort of what happened there. Here you'll have a sneak peek, which I'll cover more in depth later on, at the total revenue, and this is just for the book, not including the audiobook here. I did sell books in 5 different countries beyond the US. They do have a new dashboard that is in beta right now, and I do actually like this one a little bit more. So this is January and February, you can see broken out. I have sold 120 units, which is roughly on average 2 a day with this one really, really awesome day, 33. Someone must have shared this or tweeted about it because that's surprising. This is my advertising dashboard. This looks a little bit intimidating, and it sort of was, to be honest, to set up. So these are all the keywords I had to research and add, and you can set your bid amounts and everything else. So I think, yeah, 715 keywords. In doing this video, I'm glad I looked at this. I actually realized that while this looks like I'm making money on my advertising spend, you see 1,500 to almost 2,300. The problem that I had never thought about, so this is something I would do over if I could do this differently, is that I am not the one receiving this full amount of the sales. Remember, I'm only getting a portion of that royalty. I am technically losing money and have been this last year. So I am considering turning these off and just really focusing full-time attention on the next book. I did take my daily spend down from $4 to $1 just yesterday. This is the audiobook interface. So ACX is where you would produce your audiobook. And so you'll see all the files here that I uploaded for each chapter. There are a couple videos on this channel where I documented the process where I recorded this and edited this and put it all together in one weekend. So I'll link that above if you're interested in checking it out. It's not so much a how-to tutorial as it is just documenting the silliness of putting this together. I've only sold 10 units to customers that were not a part of Audible. So I have earned very little royalties, mainly from these 10 sales. 1 year later, exactly, since I've gotten my first check anyway, how much money did this book cost me to produce and how much did I make? And before we dive into that, I just wanna say, like, if you go watch YouTube videos out there, everyone is giving you this like lofty success story. This is a very realistic look at what you are going to make with your first book on Amazon. This looks super overwhelming at first, but what I mainly wanna point out is the income. And this is just 1 year, so I didn't include last month's because it has been about 13 months. Everything over here are the expenses associated. So a lot of this is advertising. Up here is the main expenses that I had. So the book editing was the most expensive I've mentioned, which is $650. The book cover, I paid a flat fee of $50 to a friend of a friend. And then I went on Fiverr and I actually spent more than $61 between 3 different people that I hired. Income overall, $1,458. That's the royalties that are direct deposited total, so a little bit over $100 a month. I have spent, at least I did in the first 12 months, again, roughly $100 a month here on advertising that I was not optimizing. Book production, this was $768. Website, $294. Again, this is an optional cost that you may not need to launch your book. Miscellaneous marketing are just other small supply expenses or advertising. So the cost for the book, $2,368, which means I've made a net of negative $910. So that's a sad red box. You know, one thing I really want to say is that I didn't go into this project with any intention of making this a profitable, ongoing revenue stream for myself, especially with the first book. I'm really glad I spent this negative $910. I have a physical book to show for it. Over time, I am most likely going to get this money back in the next couple of years. Plus, this inspired me to create all the social channels, the website, work on another book, create a YouTube channel, and everything else. So I am really, really happy that I did it, despite the fact that it cost me nearly $1,000 at this point out of pocket. If you didn't do some of these things up top, or you found cheaper ways to produce your book, you could certainly be profitable, especially if you did it quickly and did several. So these no content or low content books. All right, so there you have it. This book for me was the finance book that I really wish existed or I would have read as I was getting started on my finance journey. And that's the exact same approach I took to this video. Is what is the video on YouTube I wish I would have seen before I got started with my first book. So I hope you got some value out of this. I hope that I did earn that like by now. Be sure to tap that on your way out. Oh, and before I go, quick question. What book are you working on or thinking about writing? Be sure to let me know, along with any questions you might have. I do try to reply to every single comment here on the channel. The hail is back. Subscribe to The Money Resolution if you enjoyed this content. I've got some other videos out there I recommend that I'll put in the cards in terms of how to earn passive income and also how to save money on Amazon. If you want to be a part of my book launch club for book number 2, this one's going to be all about money hacks. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Check out the comments down below. The first comment I'll pin is a link so that you can sign up to be notified. You'll be the first to get all the updates. You'll also be the first to get to read the book, maybe even for free. Once again, my name is Frankie. This is The Money Resolution. This was hopefully as entertaining for you as it was for me to look outside of my window as I filmed this. Stay safe, you guys. Good luck on your book. Godspeed. I hope these tips helped you. Self-publishing is it's honestly extremely fulfilling. So I wish you the most success with your first book. As always, guys, I will talk to you soon. Thanks. I'm gonna go film and show you. This is crazy. That just happened. I'm barefoot. Jeez. That was, wow. Oh, by the way, my book cover designer, she had also self-published a book before. This is her book of poetry, Word Constellations by Lavina Robin. You can find this also on Amazon, of course. Much longer than mine. Wow. And it's pretty good. Check it out.